Crifu here. Thank you so much for supporting the Tumble Through podcast and listening to 2 whole seasons of Twilight's Edge. If you've made it this far and haven't yet, we certainly would appreciate if you could follow or subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're using. And it would really help us out if you could also leave a rating or review. It really only takes a few clicks, and it is most appreciated by me and the rest of the cast. We have a lot of great things coming in the intermission before the beginning of Season 3, but for now, please enjoy our most recent society check.
Hello, and welcome to Society Check, our talkback show for Twilight's Edge here on Tumble Through, where we look back today on Season 2 of our fantastic little Pathfinder story we're telling. My name is Marcus, pronouns are he, him, and you know me on this show also as Zekun, the Grave Orc Oracle, also pronouns he, him. I am in excellent company today, and I'm just going to pass it around the table in alphabetical order. Anna, hello.
That's not how the alphabet works.
Oh my god, Marcus knows how to... Ida, hello!
You're going to be teaching someone ABCs very soon, Marcus. This is
This is good.
Find a library, it's fine.
Give me a few more years.
Hi, my name is Aida. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a Latinx woman based in the Netherlands, and normally I play Sombra, whose pronouns are she and they. Sombra is a bright Kayal, ass-kicking, multi-punching, stunning, making Krifu's life miserable monk.
Hoi, I am Anna. I use the it pronouns. I am a weird little gremlin living in the Netherlands. And I play Lowen, he, they pronouns, so I say Hellspawn, Nephilim, Wizard.
Heyo, I'm Crifu, pronouns he, him, and I am the GM for Twilight's Edge, our Council of Thieves actual play. And I'm a queer German-American based in Frankfurt, Germany. So what's up? Let's go Society Check!
Society Check! Kia ora, hi, I'm Evan. I'm Māori descent and I live in the UK. My pronouns are he, him. And I play Nico, our Rainfall Orc Leaf Druid. Also he, him.
Yay.
Yes, that's our nice little group for Tumble Through. And if you've been with us for a while, you know what these Society Checks about. We take this moment here to sit together as players and look back at the most recent chapter in our story, which would be Season 2 for this episode. Before you continue listening to this episode, be warned, there will be spoilers here. To give you the nitty-gritty detail, there will be spoilers to up and including episode 36 of Season 2. So if you're not yet caught up with Season 2, if you're not yet caught up with Season 1, please pause this episode right now, go back to our previous episodes and listen to them. Then you can come back for all the dirty details that we want to share here. Maybe it's been a while since you listened to Season 2 of our show, and that's why we have a brief little recap. Ida, how about you give us a short little recap of the events of Season 2 on Twilight's Edge?
Happy to.
Last season on Twilight's Edge, the party has agreed to a unique and multi-step plan that will get them access to the decades-long Pathfinder Lodge Delvehaven, where they can liberate stolen Mwangi artifacts and secrets about the shadow curse plaguing the city of Westcrown. Step 1. Audition for a murder play known as the Trials of Larazod. Memorize lines, get berated by Director Nonon, and get bullied by the Devo Thessing Umbero Ulvano. Step 2. Survive a play where their suffering and danger are entertainment to the city's nobility. They don't call it a murder play for nothing. Step 3. Go to the after party, hosted at the mayor's lavish mansion. Rub elbows with influential people, gain a surprising amount of respect for some, but mostly a firm disdain for the rich and powerful. Step 4. Snoop around and find a hidden entrance to the Asmodean Knot, a dungeon generationally used to extra-legally discard dissidents and undesirables. Step 5. Enter the Asmodean Knot and traverse past demons, shadow monsters, dangerous residents and actively twisting halls and stairs. Step 6. Avoid getting killed by the assassin sent by the Council of Thieves. The legendary group exists, and they know who the party is. Step 7. Defeat the Outcast King, the final and deadliest aberration of the Asmodean Knot. From there, retrieve the Cellist Crux, the key they've been searching for. Now it's time for the party to prepare their entry into Delvehaven. Except, Zekun has accepted a temporary assignment outside of the city, and a new member will be joining the expedition to replace him.
Thank you for that recap, Ida. All right, then, without further ado, Season 2 was all about drama. Drama in many forms. We had our characters, and let's not call them adventurers, our protagonists
it's a dirty
dive
word.
into the dramatic world of theater as they took on parts in a murder play as a part of their infiltration of a mansion and then getting into a strange otherworldly dungeon. Said murder play took up quite a big part of the early parts of that season, and it also included a popularity mechanic where the acts and performances of our characters impacted, well, how well we would, quotation marks, score and how well we did our job. And I wonder, how did all of you feel about our little foray into theater and the popularity mechanic linked to that?
I think as a player, it's a good way to incentivize and mechanize the things happening, because as a very diverse party with very diverse skills, not all of us, Sombra, are performance inclined. So the popularity points gives, I think, everyone a bit of incentive to contribute what you can, even if your character might not be too excited about being there or has different motives. You kind of want to game the system, and a system is there to be gamed, and I think we gamed it good considering all the shiny gold coins that fell on us at the end of the play.
I had done the math at one point and added up every single popularity check that was made and the potential amount of points you could get for those if each of you crit succeeded on every single popularity check, which is not going to happen for most of you. So the total was 653 possible popularity points, and we ended with 585.
Just wild.
That's pretty good.
I mean, there was, a big chunk of that was, most of that was rewarded for surviving the murder play.
Yeah.
So in the end, you earned, as a group, 85 popularity points, like, working. I mean, of course, the surviving the murder play was a big part of it, but all the checks before that was about 85 in total.
Yeah, which is weird, because it didn't feel like we were doing that well. Like, obviously Nico was doing really well, and then here and there people were like succeeding, and Sombra was failing a lot.
Sombra was sombering.
Yeah, but that's why I was so surprised to hear that total, where it's like, oh, actually we didn't do that bad, considering. I will also say, in my head, it's still canon that every time we got one, a literal physical thing appeared above her head with points, because I was very confused about that in the beginning. And in my head, it's still true that every time we got, it's like a pling,
like a game show.
Exactly,
lights.
that's literally what it. Yeah, that's canon in my head.
Yeah, I think the mechanics, like you were saying, Sombra, I think it was nice to see a contrast with Sombra kicks ass in absolutely every combat, but then see her floundering a bit on stage. It was dramatic. It was delicious to see, but also like so frustrating as Sombra, I could imagine.
That was frustrating in character. As a player, it was really interesting to see that sort of dichotomy, and I sort of also enjoyed as a player watching the rest of your characters really flourish in that. But then it just reminded me how much ups and downs, and you can enjoy the quote unquote downs too. and how fast the tables turn when we're doing a physical feat in the dungeon, which we'll get to later. But as soon as the first physical test comes up, everyone's like, and I'm like, that's how Sombra felt the last 20 episodes.
That's fun to see. Like, it's fun to not only highlight what a character is good at, but also see what they absolutely suck at. It's really fun.
It was so much fun in a popcorny, eat popcorn drama kind of way.
Well, and I think performance is a skill that's been around since at least 3rd edition. I don't know 2nd or 1st, so I can't say if it was there. But it is not a skill that gets a lot of use. And really, you kind of only put a point into it if you're like a bard who maybe has something to do with that skill. So I think it was nice to see the characters who had training in performance in our group. That really showed in their performances in the end, and how many points, the popularity points they were able to earn for the party. And Nico was our leading man.
Yeah, he was. Evan's not a very good actor, but so even though mechanically Nico was doing all right, sometimes me reading the lines, I knew that I sounded shit, but that was okay. There was one delicious moment where I failed a role as Nico, which
During the dress rehearsal.
During the dress rehearsal.
And you chose to keep it.
Yeah, I chose to keep the fail. It was a crit fail, wasn't it?
Dark Lord Viti.
Yeah. Dark Lord Viti.
Yes, that was so good.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to embrace those fails.
I was surprised. Yeah, I think surprise is the right word by how well the entire setup, the practicing of the murder play and then the execution of it, how well that worked out, not just from a narrative view, but how it also felt mechanically sound. I really was happy that we had these popularity points to keep us on track of like, how well are we doing? But also that even during the practice runs, there were regular checks to see how well we were doing. And they really showed like what each character excelled or did not excel in at that point. And it was such a fun start of this chapter, because I feel once we were done with the murder play, we went into another phase of the chapter and the tone shifted in a good way to me. But it felt so unique to do this because I have never done so much theater in a tabletop RPG in my life, more than 2 decades of playing tabletop RPGs. It was like, I've never extensively done theater like this. And I was skeptical at the beginning. I was like, are we really going to do that? But the execution was just really great. And it's one of my fondest TTRPG memories at this point.
Yeah, same. It's definitely not like anything I've ever seen before in any tabletop game, and I was also skeptic, but it turned out to be pretty fun actually.
Talking about unique and being skeptical about things, as written, if there's people listening to this who have read the Council of Thieves adventure path, they might be familiar with the original texts for the Trials of Larazod and how they have been used in the adventure. And you might listen to a podcast and notice, wait a moment, there's been some editing here. There's been some changes here. So this question is a bit more towards Anna and Krifu, because you've been, you did some editing and rewriting on the script for the murder play, because we had some skepticism on that as we went into it. Could the two of you like talk our listeners a little bit through like what was the process here? What was the most important goal when editing the script? And how did that go? What happened?
Well, first I had to remove there was one racial slur that kept coming up over and over again, which needed to go, because it's not a word that we use in polite society today. And then we cut an entire act, the 5th act, I think?
The 3rd, I think.
The 3rd act?
I think it was the 3rd. I'm not sure. But it was an act that was just like, when I got the script, which is already crossed out with a trigger warning behind it, which meant I didn't read it.
Yeah, it specifically went against one of the lines and veils for this group. And instead of rewriting it, the show was already so long.
Yeah.
It took us 4 episodes to do. We just cut it, and I moved the orts from that combat to the final combat with the skeleton giant skeletons. So in the end, the difficulty was the same. A big part of the difficulty was negated through those acid resistance elixirs.
Phew.
But
Yeah.
also, as cool as the concept was, mechanically making you all roll reflex saves every round you're inside that serpent's belly to avoid acid just gets old, and it doesn't make for good podcast, I don't think.
No, and it was interesting because I remember you, I think, messaged me first about like the script and how there was things in there that just didn't fly, that just didn't work, because it's a pretty old adventure. I think, didn't we say, like, was it 2008,
2007, 2008, I want to say.
Yeah, so it's like,
Maybe even
and I
older.
think, yeah, you can tell, like, when I read it, you could tell that it was written during a certain like era, of games.
2009.
Yeah. And so when I got it from you, you'd already done a good job at like you crossed out the entire act. You already crossed out a bunch of lines that were really long, because some lines were so long.
Oh yeah, there was
yeah,
definitely
there
some
was-
just cutting for
For brevity's
accessibility
sake.
purposes. Yeah, brevity.
Yeah.
That's the word.
And then what I ended up doing was I rewrote a bunch of lines that I felt were too convoluted, or were too, like, if I read a line and I'm like, I have to go to a dictionary, because English is not my native language, I have to go to a dictionary to look up 3 words in one sentence, that line's gotta go. I gotta rewrite that, because we also have listeners whose native language isn't English, and even beyond that, there are also words in there that I think many people would not know. And then the other thing I did is originally Ilsandra, the character that Lowen played, was, I think, not part of the core, like, 4, because there's 4 roles set away for PCs. They're all male roles, and the only, like, female, which Ilsandra, was just hypersexualized to a problematic degree. And so what I ended up doing was making essentially a polycule where some of that horniness was shifted, or was divided, rather than all concentrated on one person. So I ended up rewriting bits of that, adding dialogue, changing dialogue, and then trying to shape it into something usable.
And for the entire table, how did we did have an entire section? I think Krifa just mentioned we spent like 4 episodes on the play itself. There was the Trials of Larazod. The actual execution was 4 episodes. And a significant part of the text that you hear during these episodes is from the script. We as players were reading out the lines from the script. We were putting on our best Shakespearean voices and leaning into all of it. How did everyone at the table enjoy working with a literal script for those scenes?
I had to memorize shit. I had the document up the whole time, highlighted and reading.
Yeah, I wasn't great at it either. I was. I've not had any theatre training. Krifu, on the other hand, is a theatre kid. Probably the only one at our table who is.
Funnily enough, yeah.
Yeah. Which was great, because your depiction of Monsieur Non Non was just so perfect. You were like living out some kind of director dream there.
I still think about Thazing all the time.
Really?
Like, he's in me. He's not coming out.
He's a small part of you.
Yeah, there's
amazing.
Sometimes I think, like, what would Thazing do?
What would Thazing do?
That's an awful bracelet to have, Krifu.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned Thazing, because for especially the first part of the story, he did feel like the antagonist of all of this, like really the villain for the first part of the second season. And Krifa, you mentioned that there's still a little bit of Thazing that's with you every day. Did you have as much fun as we think in portraying Thazing?
Absolutely.
And if, as you did, I assumed, will we ever see more of Thazing in this
Well,
adventure?
I can't say. But yeah, the last we saw of Thazing, Un perro urbano, very much shows that there is unfinished business, as he has now officially entered Nico's name in his grudge book.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I've seen the relationship map that we've got for all our characters and NPCs, and there's like a red line between him and Nico.
Amazing.
From the murder play, once we survived that, we moved into our second phase of the infiltration of the mayor's manor, and our characters had to deal with high society of West Crown, which is, well, an experience.
Awful.
We've seen that's
Eat the
one
rich.
word. That's one word to use there indeed. We've seen the ostentatious displays of wealth in the manor, and we've also seen the kind of, well, society that they keep among each other. First, let me ask a general question to the table. We've made a point and featured in the campaign so far that there are indeed big societal differences, discrepancies in West Crown, which is one of the core tensions there. Having your characters being actually in the presence of just all this opulent wealth, this pure decadence, did that for any of your characters? Did it surprise any of your characters? Did it cement certain views? Did it change certain views? How did the characters generally experience being present in this decadent, oppressive ruling class of the city?
My answer is short, because obviously Lowen knew. But
We'll
yes.
get to Lowen in a moment, but
I think for Nico, he was probably disgusted at a certain level about the waste and the opulence, especially comparing it to where places he's been. But also, I think in those moments, he was focused on the heist part and tried to brush over it in order to stay focused on the mission that was going on.
Yeah, we were all essentially there because of, so to say, Nico.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Oh, yes.
Nico is the
Yeah. Yeah, there was some awkward tension even just getting people to this thing.
No, but I also remember that once, like when the murder place started, that whole night for Nico, from curtain up to after party to the knot, I remember, also because I go back and I'm editing, I remember you keep bringing it up that Nico feels this pressure as the
guilt.
one, or guilt. I mean, he shouldn't feel guilty because everyone, I think, has forgiven him at this point. Okay, Lowen, all right.
Lowen, maybe not so much.
Debatable. I don't know if he knows, if he's figured it out.
But yeah, that was really a cool tidbit that you brought in there, Evan, for Nico's character development.
Thanks.
Sombra has been used to being used and seeing other people used and abused by the higher echelons in West Crown. So she came in right off that with like bitter feelings. That was really evident, I think, in Book 1, Season 1. And it wasn't until more chats with the party, especially with Nico, about planting seeds and caring for the people in a more engaged way that Sombra has, whereas Sombra might think, okay, maybe we can focus on what really matters to people. But then Book 3 is like, can people be saved when opulence, when magical fountains of honey, when magical batteries on sentient beings locked in the basement, 7 courses of meals including living drugged snakes. I think a bit of Nico's work has been a bit undone by this, especially with how essentially people from the Asmodean faith, from the Asmodean power, are using elements of the Shadow Plane to do their own dirty work. They've essentially sort of compacted elements of the Netherworld, of the Shadow Realm, into their garbage disposal. So I think that a lot of that bitterness and things can improve feeling might have gone downwards for Sombra after experiencing this much more firsthand.
Well, Zekun, as like one of the outsiders in the party, someone from outside of Westcrown, is still trying to witness firsthand what the city is like. And of course, he's heard from his party members what the city is like, what the ruling class is like. But these events, this evening in the presence of basically the rulers of the city, has shown him firsthand, at least as what they present to be like. They are opulent, they are decadent, they try to impress each other with their wealth and their power. And for him, in a way, this has been a very educational experience. It's firsthand experience with who the leaders of this place are. And I think we're going to see him changing his opinions on the ruling class, the people who lead the city. But at the same time, he does still maybe somewhat naively believe that there must be people among them who want to be better than this, who want to change this and have interest in having people benefit from this wealth. So I think for him, this was a learning experience, one that I hope to see him use to find his own place within the city. And for me as a player, it was also super interesting to be in these scenes, just asking maybe the somewhat silly questions to people who are in this place and getting to know them from that different angle. Actually interacting with some actual members of House Thrune, basically, and building up connections with someone from the same bloodline as the actual queen of Cheliax. So that's really interesting. I'm really interested to see where that will go for Zakun.
I find that really interesting because it's something I was thinking about, that I noticed the party as a whole wanted to hate every single guest that was there, and found themselves either as players more than characters, but both, half of one, a dozen of the other. Liking some of these people despite not wanting to. And I think the common thread between that is that the people they ended up liking were people that were useful.
Yep, that's correct.
People that did things, not people that had plans and projects. The head, the high priest of the Asmodean faith, Jarvexis Gorestic. Okay.
Jarvexis.
Little glasses dude.
Yeah, sunglasses.
This is cool.
Well,
That's
who
because you
knows?
played him very cool as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Who knows what he's doing to better the city, but he clearly has an agenda. And I think the PCs react to people who have an agenda more favorably than people like the mayor or Saskar or Talernos and the mayor's nephew, the Duxitar, who are just there for the hell of it.
Well, they have agendas, but I think their agenda is much more self-serving and shallow. Not to say that, like, Thrune agendas are absolutely not. But like IRL, people who get into power tend to ultimately end up with a high level of charisma.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sell your agenda and make it seem like it's everyone else's great idea.
And I think that was fully on display also during this party, that there was just a lot of very convincing and persuasive people in the higher echelons of not just West Crown, but basically the entire nation of Cheliax. So this was also like a really cool chance to display that to, I'm not sure, I'm actually curious now, Krifu, you as a GM who ran this, how did you feel about using this dinner, this feast, to also just basically blatantly portray a lot of NPCs and what they are about? How did you feel using that scene or those episodes for that?
Ooh, I felt a lot of pressure, like self-inflicted pressure, to make sure I get it right, or to cover the topics that I felt like needed to be covered. Am I 100% satisfied? No. But I feel like for the most part, the people who needed to be introduced for the future's sake of the story were introduced. And honestly, how many level 4 parties get to go to a feast and rub shoulders with the top people of their city? Not many, I should say.
Honestly, you played Shabadi so well that even though I know that she's supposed to be an antagonist, I kind of like her.
Well,
And the
Shamini
same
and
goes to
Accardian.
Valen.
Valen is less antagonist and more patron.
Yeah, no, for sure. But Valen is a Troon,
She's
and
a
I
Troon.
did not expect to like her as much as I did. And that's all due to your portrayal of these characters.
I think the approach is obviously from the beginning of season 1 with that backstory of Shamini and Accardian, we know that they're set up to be antagonists. But there's nothing about their backstory that says they are evil people. They do bad things.
Yeah.
And
But
they're
also, I
selfish.
think,
But
they're
they're
charismatic as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're three-dimensional. There's other things happening inside of them, which we as players have a better understanding of, because I'm very open about some of the background of this adventure path, just because it makes it better for all of us. But I think, so that's the approach with the party, is the people who you liked were people who I gave a third dimension to.
Yeah.
The people who you didn't like were the 2D flat personas.
Annoying assholes, yeah.
Yes, essentially.
I'm glad that you mentioned Shamini and Accardian, and that's because one bit of background these two are linked to is also to Lowen, Anna's character. I feel like the section here at the dinner at the mayor's mansion was really a highlight of Lowen's background, which we already build up earlier. We've seen a part of that during the preparations for the murder play as well, but then during this feast at the mayor's house, Lowen started to cut threats, started to liberate themselves from people from their past. And Anna, I'm curious, how did you experience that? How did you experience these episodes where you could have these direct interactions with all of these characters from your character's background?
Honestly, I was nervous in the sense that I remember very well when Kerfu first told me what season 2 was going to be about, and I was like, oh, I did not expect this to come up right now. And I think the same was for Lowen. We saw that at the very start of the season when Nico obviously, when the plan was introduced, that Lowen had a moment of panic, because he'd also not seen this coming, and he'd imagined these moments of going back there and actually cutting ties many times, and none of them looked like being dressed in some kind of costume after a murder play. None of that looked like that, and
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. But it was both as nerve-wracking as it was for me to want to try and get it right, because it's a part of Lowen's obviously carrying a lot of trauma from that, and I wanted to do that justice. I wanted to portray that in a way that made sense for both the character, but also wasn't kind of diminishing it, because we all know that Lowen doesn't like to talk about stuff, but it doesn't mean that it's not serious and shouldn't deserve a little bit of a spotlight there. But then I will also say that it really helped that Kerfu was really easy to bounce off of, and it was also for me the first time that Lowen's adoptive mother, Julana, finally got a voice, because obviously we'd been back and forth about what she's like, and most of it just left kind of with Kerfu. But then when Kerfu started playing it, I was like, oh my god, she really is awful as I imagined her to be, which further kind of cemented all of that. But yeah, it was interesting, and I think I said to Kerfu as well at some point, I think this was necessary, because I don't think Lowen would have been an interesting character if we'd gone into season 3 with the same attitude that he has in season 1. So this is a bit of necessary character. Well, it doesn't feel like growth yet. I think to him it feels just like a tearing an old wound right back open, but it's going to be necessary, and it was very interesting.
It's a form of closure that I don't know that
Yeah.
Lowen probably, like you said, never expected to get. And I think that's a very apt description of tearing things down before they can be built back up.
Yeah, I think it's a sense of closure, but I think also Lowen has definitely not said everything that they wanted to say. But I think I think there was a moment during the talk of Jelana where they kind of realized like there is no point in telling her like what she's done to me because she doesn't care. Like it became very clear that she just doesn't care. I mean, she literally called him essentially a failed investment, which is not, you know, the way you would talk about someone who you care about. And I
I'm so
think
proud of that line.
it was so good. And it also the thing where you mentioned like, oh, why are you still wearing my ring? I was like, oh, that's smart. But I think
happy
that's
for Lowen in the end, though.
Yeah,
especially after the experience of going through the play. There were other very uncomfortable bits for Lowen.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm glad that Lowen went through the ringer, but I'm happy that Lowen ended up with people that they felt they could trust, or at least place a little bit of the burden on. And after going through all of that, almost getting murdered, acid pools and whatnot, to still have the composure and I assume a feeling of support to do that and elegantly, I think was impressive, is liberating for anyone else listening in, and empowering because Lowen got the final word in.
Yeah, I think that was also cool with in the end where Guardian also chimed in to try and like, you know, use kind of like Lowen stuff for his own argument, where he was kind of like shutting it down, like, you know, you don't get to say anything about this. And that's also why I liked when he finally walked away that it was I think called Seneca joining at his side, but also why I highlighted that his hair had been tied back with Sombra's like little wrap, because I also specifically wanted to highlight the fact that he at that point, because in the past, obviously, whenever they would have gone to parties, he would have been told, you know, like, dress this way, behave this way, whatever, don't, you know, like, keep your composure. And then for him to now just, because when we walked in, we all had to roll, I think, a diplomacy check. And
First
I rolled in that
impression.
one. And I decided to keep it because I was thinking he is not going to make an effort here. He is going to walk in as he is. And if people don't like that he doesn't care, because that's not the point. He doesn't want to make an impression anymore. And yeah, it definitely is nice. If we're talking about people, about nobles who might be able to redeem themselves, because Seneca seems to be someone who is realizing that the people there never really cared about her. So that's also something that could be explored for the characters who want to see if there can be change.
I'm just really happy that we have all of that really great character development and story in this game, where we also crawl through a dungeon and beat up shadow monsters. And no, but really for me as a player and observer for these scenes of Lowen, it was just great to see the character growth and development in these scenes, in these episodes, while there was also so much other stuff happening around that. We were shuffling around seating orders. We were going from going from course to course. So that was really cool to see all of that.
So I've done Paizo does regular adventures where these sort of feasts or banquets happen. And so I have done a few of them before. I think Ida, when we did the Starfinder Scourge Stars, we had 2 different society banquets in that campaign. So you've had a taste of that sort of initiative-based social encounter thing. How did everyone feel about the mechanics of the banquets?
Again, just like with the practicing and preparations for the murder play, where we had a bit of structure in the sense of the popularity points and the regular skill checks that we had, I liked that the banquet had structure in the form of the courses that we went through. And with every course, we had a bit of a reshuffling of seating orders. Where were people around? To who were you talking? And one of my problems I often have with social encounters in tabletop RPGs is that they can quickly just end up being just we roll a lot of diplomacy and we just see whoever has the snappiest and best response to something, that person gets their point across, and there's not much structure. With the banquet, there was structure because we had like one role per course, per character. We picked with which NPC we wanted to talk, so you had to make a choice. Like, I can't talk to all of these people. I have literal social combat rounds, basically, where I need to pick who do I want to learn something from, and that provided a really good framework for me as a player who likes to have these structures in place, but simultaneously doesn't want to make it too structured because we're also here to roleplay. That was an excellent format, and I was already like, when I was done with my quotation marks turn in that banquet, I was already thinking like, okay, for the next course, who do I want to talk to? Where do I want to sit? That really was very satisfying for me as a player.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it gave everyone a chance in the spotlight, and you got to almost craft the spotlight yourself with who you wanted to get the information from, and everyone, because our characters are so different, each of those spotlights was very unique to the character and were played beautifully. Sombra putting on that helmet, or was it the mask, and turning the mask into the helmet, or was it the helmet itself of that?
She grabbed a helmet from the
That's it,
Duxatar.
Oh, that's right. That took the girl.
That took the girl off of
I loved that. It was.
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
so
I felt like
good.
it was the first time we've seen Sombra like let their hair down in a way.
Yeah.
Just
Still
kind of
absolutely
relax.
trolling the rich people, but
Or,
in a
be silly in a way.
yeah.
I think it was more like, look at these mice. I am a cat.
You're playing with your prey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting side of Sombra that we had not yet seen before.
Sombra has Riz.
Sombra
does have Riz.
Sombra has Riz, but that was the first time we felt the full force of their Riz.
Yeah.
You special listener hearing your cheeks are blushing? Yeah. Assis, hi.
Shout out.
From our banquet, after we were done with that, we were not done with our plan yet. We still had to get into the Asmodean knot. Before that, we were treated to a nice bath. We had a beautiful moment where we had a bit of tactical conversation while all of us were taking a bath, taking showers. And then we found our way through a magic mirror into the Asmodean knot, or to be more accurate, the dungeon surrounding the Asmodean knot. And we had a bit of a dungeon crawl there. We started this season with theater. We went to a very long social encounter during the banquet, and then we went back to the roots of Pathfinder, dungeon crawling and overcoming a bunch of dangers that we had there. And boy, was the Asmodean knot filled with encounters. I'm just going to generally ask the question to the table. Of all the things we encountered and experienced in the knot, what do you think was the most fun, interesting, or just weirdest encounter we had in there?
Jabe, without a
Jabe?
doubt.
I was going to say Jabe as well.
I
was
was
also going to
thing.
say Jabe.
It was so funny. I love when there is room for any kind of diplomacy to avoid a combat, and I love it even more when that's hilarious, when somehow in a really funny way you manage to avoid it, and great time.
The moment Krifu was starting to describe these ghouls in their swimwear and everything,
Retro swimwear.
So good.
I was like, I'm fully on board with this. Let's lead into it and just see where this goes. Though the entire encounter with Jabe and his crew was fantastic. And I was also very happy, if I remember correctly, we started that encounter off with just Zekun critically succeeding on the diplomacy check, which basically was our way into resolving this peacefully. And that we could also just wrap it up in a peaceful and fun way, just walking away, shouting cheers, Jabe, and that was done. Very memorable.
I think the other encounter that for me was pretty memorable. Memorable as in it raised a lot of points that are still unquestioned of which consequences will still be had was the encounter and after discussion with Shan.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Big
that was
theories
juicy.
got confirmed.
Yeah.
Tactical sides of PCs came out that shocked other people, and we couldn't resolve them because we were in a time crunch to the death dungeon.
Yeah.
There's a lot left unsaid about that. That's why for me it's memorable. I have no other comments, but like, what the hell does it mean? What's going to happen? Because it hasn't happened yet. Maybe season 3.
Yeah, I think because I was away for the actual episode where that role played out, where you were having a discussion about hiring the assassin yourselves. And then so coming back after that and retconning, like having a conversation after that was it was challenging because that would have gone completely against something that Nico believed in.
Maybe it's good for the listener to know that we did have, as we went into that next episode when Evan came back and we were like basically recapping the events around the assassin, that before we started recording the episode, we had like a conversation above the table about like how we're going to tackle this. Is everyone's character okay with this approach? Because I felt for me that needed to be cleared above table first to make sure that we could also, as players, have a very satisfying encounter here. And I think in the end, putting that encounter with all of that information and insights revealed into a place where we were in a bit of a time crunch was really interesting, because I, as a player, would have loved to talk for hours with that assassin and just getting everything out of there. But that wasn't our top priority at that point. We had other things to worry about. And now there's a person out there in West Crown who also knows quite a lot about us and some people we care about. And I, as a player, cannot wait for this to bite us in the ass.
Well, it's not just Shen who knows a lot about you.
No.
I think the reveal that the Council of Thieves is aware of who you are and wants you dead, and somehow knew enough to put an assassin in the knot to go after you.
But also that it's Shamadi who hired her, because that's the thing was Lowen was the one who proposed to hire Shan, but it was partially due to a bad roll. So I crit fail at some point, and but it was many things at once, because obviously she'd sort of revealed that the Council of, that she was hired by the Council of Thieves who wanted us dead, and then I forgot how, but we learned that Shamadi was at least one of the people who hired her, which for Lowen was like, oh my god, someone I know wants me dead, but also is on the Council of Thieves. Who else might be on the Council of Thieves that I know? Like, really spiraling. And so then that's where the kind of came. And then I rolled really badly. Like, I think like I rolled in that one or a crit fail or whatever. And then I decided to like double down and have him just fully like. It's fun to see what happens when Lowen's wits and intellect leaves him when he's overwhelmed by emotion, because then suddenly he's not that smart and he does things and says things that are not very tactical, and then obviously having like everyone else be like, what the hell do you mean, hiring, and that sort of like spiral was really fun. But it was also definitely good, Marcus, that like you said, that we had a check-in above table, because I could be having fun with this and being like, oh, I'm gonna double down on this because of this role and everything. But in the end, I do want everyone to be on board with that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated the retcon in order to give Nico a chance to say something about that. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it feels like above the table, we consented to sort of test the bonds between our party members.
Yeah.
And we slapped a big old Band-Aid on it, knowing there is a bleeding wound behind it.
Yep. Yeah.
And we had to Band-Aid our way, power our way through with that to the end of the dungeon and surviving get out.
Like, narratively speaking, that also makes super sense to me, because to me, in my head, narratively speaking, the entire party and their friendship, yes, I'm calling them friendships at this point, are at a point where we're starting to like and trust each other, but it's still brittle and weak enough to break. And there's still there's doubt that can creep in. And that scene with the assassin was a point where I was like, oh, there's people who are going to go out of this, and they're going to look differently at each other. I can tell you that, speaking as Zekun's player, that entire scene like completely made him also again take a closer look at Lowen and Sombra and be like, okay, there's more to them, and I still need to be a little bit careful. And I love that shit. I love it. I love this when this happens in a TV show, for example, when you're at the point where like, oh, they're starting to like each other, and then stuff like this happens. You're like, oh, there's still something between them that can increase the tension. I'm here for that. I love that.
Yeah. I love especially at the very last episode when Zekun's leaving and mentions like to the group that they're good people, and then Evan, Nico's side eye to Lowen. Chef's kiss. That was I was like, yes, that's so good.
I think that's the thing, because Nico is such a golden retriever boy and has gone through all this. and just sees the good in everyone, well, all of you, and then they're under the pressure, in the knot and the crunch, sees as just like things are just opening his eyes a little bit, and then also there's a lot of pressure, a lot of danger, and the way people react, and it's like I think he's just probably seen a bit more about what people are about.
Yeah.
That was all a one freaking day.
Yeah.
It was one day.
That was one day.
Yeah.
A lot happened.
Terrible day.
It's bizarre how much happened in this short amount of time. There's also something else that happened while we're there in the knot. And I want to briefly talk about monks and rolling
Monks being
really
broken?
well.
Yeah, I was glad you brought that up. Monks being broken.
If you've been listening, I assume you've been listening since you're now listening to the society check and everything. Our final encounter in the knot was a fight that was against a really cool monster and a bunch of sidekicks. And it was, however, also an encounter that involved Sombra on our side. And
Ideally, yes.
It was an encounter that might have been over faster than some of us would have expected. And that was, well, due to really good dice rolls. And before we knew it, we had defeated the boss of this dungeon crawl. Krifu, for you, I'm also a GM. I know how it feels to be on that side of the screen, and I know how it can feel when your big cool monster gets just completely
destroyed,
completely stomped, destroyed. How did you experience it, and how do you? Maybe it's a little bit dramatic, but how do you deal with it as a GM when things like these happen?
How do I deal with it? How I experienced it was I thought it was really cool, actually, that Sombra was able to apply both slow and stunned condition at the same time. The Pathfinder fanboy in me says did find it very cool. But the GM in me was definitely on the frustrated side.
I saw frustration on your face.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I saw frustration on Marcus's face as well.
Yeah.
Look at Marcus started cheering for Krifu. Like, Marcus switched teams.
We ultimately started cheering for Krifu.
Yes,
then,
thank you.
Yeah.
I told you guys to stop it out once he started rolling okay.
I think the big thing, I didn't realize the jump in character power from level 4 to level 5.
Yeah.
That was, I think, my first mistake in the conversion aspect of all of this, because I am taking the stats from first edition and moving them and creating them in second edition. But at the same time, it also worked really well because unlike season 1, we were on a deadline to finish recording season 2. And so that was our last available session, and it just had to be done. And it was like, okay, well, Sombra's going to pull it through and make sure that we get this shit recorded on time. So it worked out.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I can't. And now we're moving into season 3, I think, with a really clear goal. Things have been sort of simplified in a lot of ways. There's no... weird, elaborate plan.
Yeah.
It's just open the crux and delve into Delve Haven, and it's a
Yeah.
lot. The goal is a lot clearer in season 3.
I like that you approach encounters that go like this from that perspective. It can feel frustrating when you have this really cool big encounter planned and then it gets dealt with so swiftly. But on the other hand, it also showed how cool and kick-ass we were at that point, and I think it was still a very nice capstone to our crawl through the Asmodean Knot.
Absolutely. Because there were fights that did fuck up some of y'all, Zekun.
Yeah.
The first fight, Zekun got bodied pretty hard.
Very hard, which was
Because he went to tank with his face.
Yes.
that's what
Just
Zekun's
charged
face
in.
is for. It's look, hit points are a resource and should be spent. That's just how this game works.
No one's agreeing with you.
No, and also know when you're our healer.
Yeah. You're squishy.
No, not as squishy, having played a healer in a long-term campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Healers can be pretty clutch and might have a god complex every now and then because of what they can do.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, in the end, hit points or not, we did make it out of the Asmodean Knot. We completed our goal. We had a wrap up of season 2 with a little farewell to one of the characters for now, at least.
Okay.
So, if you're look forward to the upcoming season, look forward to a bit of a change in the party, just as a little tease. But before we wrap up this society check, because I don't know if you can believe it, but we've been almost talking for an hour at this point. Before we wrap up here, I want to ask a question to you as players. A question about you as your player and for your character, basically. Season 2 featured plays and theater prominently. Now, if you as a player could pick any kind of play, it could be a musical, it could be a theater piece, it could be any kind of other performative art that you wanted to see, what kind of show would you like to go watch? And would your character, if they were to come along with you, enjoy going to that show? And for free for you as the GM, you can pick one of the NPCs that you bring along for this. I'm just wondering, Evan, what kind of show would you like to go to see, and how would Nico respond to that show?
Any type of show, not
Any type of show, yeah. But like theater, a musical, any other kind of stage performance.
I think leaning into his cooking background, he'd want to go to like some kind of like, I wouldn't say like British Bake Off, maybe something more like Is It Cake? I don't know if you've
Wow.
Amazing.
Precious.
just because it would be like, it would just be so offbeat.
The whimsy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he needs that. He's a sad boy right now.
So both Evan and Nico together would have a good time at that
yeah,
kind of show.
Absolutely.
I have a hard time imagining Nico not having a good time at basically everything with his
anywhere.
golden retriever attitude. Awesome.
We're similar. We're quite similar, me and Nico.
Ida, if you were to pick a show and would bring Sombra along for it, what kind of show would it be, and how would Sombra feel about getting dragged along to a show?
Let's see. Ida would probably try to pick something Sombra likes more than Ida. So what first comes to mind is professional wrestling.
Oh.
For feats of athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
But Ida, the player, would not enjoy that as much. So the middle ground would actually be... So my family's from South America in Bolivia. And in Bolivia, we have indigenous women who call themselves cholitas. And they are like indigenous Aymara, Quechua. They wear bowler hats, 2 long braids. Their hair always braided. They wear a blouse, shawl, and like long petticoat skirts, like past their knees in layers. And they wear flat shoes. Now, several of them have actually started a pro wrestling league maintaining that traditional dress.
Oh
my
my
God.
god, that
Flying
sounds
cholitas.
amazing.
That's
Hell
cool.
yeah.
I want to
Where-
go see that.
Where, like the Mexican luchadores or like any professional wrestling, there's a story. There's masks.
They have
climb on.
kayfabe. Yeah.
They climb on the ropes. They do somersaults and jumping off. There's heels, etc.
Oh, he
So Ida would find that kind of wrestling really cool and would bring Sombra. And Sombra would be like, what is going on? Why are they being so dramatic? Sombra would absolutely be like cheering and jeering and throwing popcorn into the ring when the heel came out and would be a bit too hardcore invested. I could imagine Sombra like having that almost like childlike joy and excitement in seeing that kind of show. So I would bring her to a Flying Cholitas pro wrestling show.
Amazing.
I'm gonna Google it if that's
Yeah,
if
yeah,
there's any near me right now.
They're only in Bolivia.
Oh,
I mean-
this sounds so amazing. Krifu, if you had to pick a show and you had to bring one of the NPCs from our lovely story with you, what show would you pick, and would the NPC have a good time or not?
I really think Mr. Hump would very much appreciate the mechanics that go into modern day stage effects.
Mm-hmm.
So, like taking him to a show on Broadway or in the West End, I think he would really like that from like a technical perspective. But Calcenica would appreciate a musical of that caliber way more than it would be an emotional thing for her, rather than a sort of academic professional thing for Mr. Hump. But yeah, as we mentioned, I think the only time I go to the theater is to see musicals, so it's got to be a musical.
I like to point that Mr. Hump would be probably really impressed by modern stage technology for that, but he would have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, take him to see the Spider-Man musical.
Anna, what kind of show would you go to and bring Lowen, and how would Lowen feel
Whoa.
about that?
I also don't go to the theater a lot, though I am going to see a comedy show in a while, which I feel like honestly Lowen, I should drag him to, if only because I feel like he should laugh more, in the sense of like he could use maybe something like that, but I don't think he would. I don't see him be the type for stand-up comedy. However, I do really want to go to like a Cirque du Soleil like kind of show.
Yeah.
And I think Lowen would also enjoy something like that. And especially, I've never been to one. If they have any like part with like where they do magic, but not like, obviously like our kind of magic. I feel like Lowen would enjoy it, if only to try and figure out how the fuck they're doing that. I feel like he would just like hone in and try and figure it out, and just, but that for him would be enjoyable. So I think I would drag him to something like that, and we would both have a good time.
Lowen's trained in thievery. There's no reason he can't do sleight of hand.
But that's why he wants to figure it out, because he's like, okay, this is like next level. Like how do they do that? Like I think for him it's just the analyzing part of it, and like the puzzle part of it is part of the fun. Yeah, I think he would enjoy that.
I think that would be like doubly impressive for Lowen, because the magicians at the Cirque du Soleil or whatever kind of show literally do not have magic. But Lowen, someone like Lowen, could use magic to replicate the same effect. So how do you replicate that effect without magic? I think would be the really like, how does this watch work moment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why you would respect it even more when he knows that they're not using actual magic. Where it's like, okay, cool, you can, and then like literally, if in an alternative universe, Lowen picks up card tricks and starts doing cards, learning how to do that.
Honestly,
Finally,
he's so
he has a
edgy.
hobby.
It would be very believable if Lowen walked around trench coat. You're just missing the fedora.
Oh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
I was thinking, while I ask all of you what shows you would go to, I was thinking about what I would go to with Zekun. I was first thinking like, oh yeah, I like going to musicals. I haven't gone to many musicals in my life, but I also haven't been to a concert in a long time. And I've been listening to quite a lot of The Last Dinner Party over the past weeks. Like they're like really my go-to artist right now, and I would love to see them live at some point. I think Zekun would honestly have a really good time. I think if he listens to some of the lyrics of the songs of the band, he would find them pretty relatable. And I generally envision Zekun as someone who just really could really mellow out at a concert for an evening. So I think Zekun and I would have a good time together there.
Aw.
Nice. Sounds chill.
That's cool. Yeah.
I would like to bring the Orcs of the Pleat to a baby metal concert.
Yes!
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 They would
Yes.
totally like have their synchronized glow sticks.
Yeah.
Yes!
Totally be in the mosh pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would get merch. Absolutely get
Yeah.
merch.
They
I
would
can see
totally
this.
get
I
all
can
the
picture
merch.
this.
I can imagine a really great evening at the Pleat with a baby metal with their song with where they feature on Electric Callboy song
Oh
Ratatatata.
God.
That would
Oh,
like really
oh.
work really well there. So yeah,
Yes.
I can see it happen.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ida, for this mental image.
I wanted something like more. I wanted another super wholesome image, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Amazing. All right. This was a really nice look back at our second season, everyone. We finished another book of Council of Thieves. We've had our characters go through many more great challenges. They have grown, they have changed, they have developed, and there's still much to look forward to. Season 3 is coming. We have still a crux to open, a place to delve into, and what might await our adventurers there? Well, dear listener, there's only one way for you to find out. Stay tuned to Tumble Through, to Twilight's Edge, and also, if you're like listening to this and you want to listen to other stuff from Tumble Through, definitely also make sure to check out our seasonal workers episodes that we've been putting up. These are some very fantastic little adventures, also using the Pathfinder rule set. And also showcase a few amazing players that are guesting on our show. And
in particular, the GM of Seasonal Workers, Jen Vaughn, is joining the cast of Twilight's Edge for Season 3.
Yay!
yeah!
Let's
Hell yeah.
go.
She will be stepping in for Marcus, who will be stepping back as he is enjoying
fruits.
enjoying fatherhood. Yeah.
Yay!
Exactly.
I thought you were
Really-
going to say something else.
No, I wasn't sure. I was still, yeah. The fruits of his labor. I mean,
Yeah,
the labor
well,
of
It
his
was not his labor
Yeah,
specifically.
definitely
yeah.
not his labor.
Yeah.
It was Mrs. Chindividual's labor.
I did the smallest part in the process.
The fruit of his loins. Anyway.
I didn't want to say it. That's what sprang to my mind. I was like, no.
Okay, I think this is a good
not saying it.
time to
Marcus,
like-
you will be missed. You're going to be, I'm sure you're going to
Yeah.
be an ever-present presence in our chat,
Yes.
probably whispering in Krifu's ear. Thank you for the amazing send-off you've worked for us. Thank you for like being cool face tank healer. I'm going to miss your knowledge. Even though I hate to admit it, it won't be the same without the awful puns.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And poor Krifu will probably be sad and not be able to use that sound effect. I'm not projecting.
What do you think do you think the puns are awful?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
That is
if
the
you-
appropriate thing to say, right?
Ida's
As opposed
allergic
to, like,
to puns. Is the thing.
Yeah.
But my reaction is the gift. I can choose not
Exactly.
to react and be like completely
Ex-
stone faced, and I think that's worse.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
Exactly.
The brilliance of a pun is measured by its groan.
Exactly.
That
Yeah,
is true.
that's true. Yeah.
No, just I'm really of course I would love to join all of you in season 3, but I'm also very much enjoying right now the presence of our little son, and I want to take some time with him and our little family. But you're not rid of me. I will be back for book 4, and
Wow.
I am really excited to see how Jenna's character will fit into the
Mm.
dynamic of this party. So definitely keep your ears ready for season 3 of Twilight's Edge.
What lies in dust.
What does?
Ooh.
Can you just
Edgy.
quickly
How
say,
edgy.
I'll be back as Zekun?
I'll be back. Trust me.
Yes. You better.
All right, dear listener, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Society Check. We hope to see you also in the upcoming episodes over here at Tumble Through. And once again, thank you. Thanks to this amazing table for playing together and telling this story. And see you soon, everybody.
Tumble
Bye.
through.
Tumble through.
Tumble through. And we're done.
Yay.
Tumble Through presents Twilight's Edge, a Pathfinder 2nd Edition actual play of the Council of Thieves adventure path, converted from Pathfinder 1st Edition by Krufu Bernal, who is our executive producer and game master. Tumble Through uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc. and used under Paizo's fan content policy, paizo.com/licenses/fan content. Tumble Through is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com.
Blah. Just recap rolling out of your mouth.
I'm just imagining like modem noises.
I know what those sound like. I don't know if Anna has organically heard them beyond like, this is what it sounded like when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Like when
I
people
don't
were
remember
born
if
in
I
like
have.
in the 1990s or less.